What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we've got another live fantasy football mock draft for you, this time on ESPN, where we will be doing a 10-team full PPR mock, and we will be selecting from the 9th overall position. We've done a couple of these before, but never on ESPN yet, so should be pretty interesting. I'm excited to see how the player rankings stack up here versus, let's say, on Fantasy Pros versus Yahoo. So it should be a pretty good one. And as a reminder, if you guys enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at All Day Pigskin to continue interacting with us there. And most importantly, let us hear it in the comment section. Do you enjoy? What are your thoughts on these teams? Do you approve of these selections, along with any other questions you guys might have? And then also keep a lookout for the 2022 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide, which will be dropping shortly. Everything you can want in there, more details to come. But for now, with that being said, let's turn our attention to this draft. For the most part, we have everyone in here. If not, nothing too crazy hopefully will take place. I'm hoping that, it'll be rather smooth, won't take forever, and that the picks won't be completely bonkers. Now, again, this is a full PPR draft, and as you can see, we have got the first 3 picks already taking place. They are as follows: Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, and then Derrick Henry. Now, again, look, Christian McCaffrey is ranked 3rd overall, full PPR scoring. I'd have him 2nd overall. Cooper Kupp 2nd overall, way too high in my personal opinion. In fact, just the majority of these running backs are very high, or I should say wide receivers, excuse me. Cooper Kupp at 2, Jefferson at 5. Jamar Chase should not be at 6. No business at 6 in full PPR scoring. I would have Devontae Adams above him. I would have Stephon Diggs above him. But the way this is shaping up, I would say, again, since it is a 10-team league, we've got a pretty good chance to end up with a couple of guys that we really like, namely guys like a DeAndre Swift, guys like an Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, even Joe Mixon. So I think we're in a pretty good spot. Also, Justin Jefferson just went before Cooper Kupp, something to note. I don't think it's completely crazy, there are a lot of people out there that do have Justin Jefferson ranked above or slightly above Cooper Kupp, or right there alongside with him. And speaking of Cooper Kupp, there he goes. So the last 3 picks have been all running backs, or all wide receivers, excuse me. Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase. Now we're on the clock, and we've got some really good choices here. We've got Dalvin Cook still available, DeAndre Swift, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones. This is an absolute sweet spot. I'm going to go here with Dalvin Cook. He's my next highest ranked running back personally. I think he's a little bit more proven, even though I absolutely adore DeAndre Swift. I think there's a good chance he can be available to us, since we only have to wait 2 picks in this second round. There's also Alvin Kamara, who, with Jameis Winston under center, as long as he's the quarterback, I'm not really all that worried. There goes Devontae Adams and Deebo Samuel. So we're back on the clock. We could go wide receiver here. Stephon Diggs, another like tier 1 borderline type of wide receiver. But I'm going to hit the running back position hard. And to me, the guys that are in place still: Swift, Kamara, Mixon, Aaron Jones. Personally, since this has the PPR element, I would be ranking Swift, Kamara, and Aaron Jones above Joe Mixon. Here, I'm going to go with, probably I'll go with DeAndre Swift. I'm curious to see where Aaron Jones goes more than anything. I kind of want to play that as a little bit of an experiment, because I think he's ranked way too low. Javonte Williams ranked way too high. James Conner ranked way too high. There goes Cam Akers, who was ranked, I believe, 1 spot below Aaron Jones. That's absolutely crazy. That shouldn't be the case. In my opinion, what we're seeing right now are just a couple like sophomore young running backs that are ranked way too high, that just unwarranted hype. So with Cam Akers, he's coming off an Achilles, folks. He's in a running back by committee type of situation. Henderson, running backs that were added via the draft. And Achilles is no joke. Okay, he might have had a quick rehab. That doesn't mean he came back looking all that great last year. So I'd much rather have so many other running backs ahead of him. I have him, in fact, outside of my top 20 running backs. There goes Alvin Kamara, and then there goes Aaron Jones. So, that was kind of a situation just that I wanted to let play out, see where Aaron Jones went. He went towards the end of the second round. I didn't, if he goes honestly anywhere past the early second round, in my opinion, in a full PPR type of scoring league, that is an absolute steal, and you should be jumping on that. Like I have zero problem, honestly, if it's towards the end of the first round, taking Aaron Jones in the first round. Like if my top running backs are gone, like if it's a crazy, crazy run on the running back position, like, Dalvin Cook, Najee Harris, Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, they all go. DeAndre Swift isn't there. Alvin Kamara isn't there. And you're next up to pick, and you want to go with the running back. You don't want to necessarily go with one of those wide receivers. I have zero problem taking Aaron Jones in that situation. I think it's a slam dunk pick, and I think he really does have top 5 type of upside. So I can't say enough good things about Aaron Jones without Devontae Adams in Green Bay. So I'm trying to see if anything crazy has happened, since our selection of DeAndre Swift. You saw Stephon Diggs, you saw Joe Mixon, Cam Akers. I think that was the worst pick so far. I kind of, highlighted that. Then we had Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, Tyreek Hill. Again, Tyreek Hill, who is now no longer in Kansas City, part of the Dolphins, even though I think Tua is an interesting guy as a potential breakout. I would not be selecting Tyreek Hill ahead of CeeDee Lamb or ahead of Keenan Allen or Mike Evans, for example. Something that I do think is interesting here is that the tight ends are ranked a little bit lower than what I expected, because usually, I would say these two top tight ends, and Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews, are guys that are going to be going in the mid to late second round. As you can see, we have made it to the middle point of the third round, and they're both still options. So that's something that I'm excited about. If we can get Travis Kelce at the end of the third round, I'm not going to lie to you guys, that's going to be an absolute smash of a pick. Even though I advocate not selecting tight ends early, this is very much so the opposite of that, the end of the third round. Unfortunately, as soon as I say that, of course, Travis Kelce goes off the board. I'm not quite as excited about Mark Andrews as I was Travis Kelce. I have Kelce as my number one guy. Worth noting, ESPN had Andrews one spot ahead of Travis Kelce, but I have seen more and more mocks where Kelce is being selected ahead of Mark Andrews. I think that should be the case. Now, as we go along here, I think there's still some really, really good talent. I was about to highlight Saquon Barkley. I was about to highlight Mike Evans, but both those guys are off the board. We're on the clock now, and honestly, like at this point, I already have 2 really good running backs in Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Swift. Wide receiver, I don't love A.J. Brown. I don't love DJ Moore. Zeke is tempting here, but since I do have Mark Andrews like right below Travis Kelce, and it's the end of the third round, I think this is where we get to a good value. So I'll select Mark Andrews here, get the tight end position taken care of, and then we're going to be back on the clock here pretty quickly. So the next 2 picks were Montgomery, Jalen Waddle. The question here that we have to answer is, do we want to go wide receiver at this point, or do we want to add another running back? So I'm looking at this, and Travis Etienne is ranked 53rd overall. I kind of maybe want to risk it and go with him or see if he's still available. A guy that I really like here. I don't like Brown. I don't like DJ Moore necessarily. Michael Pittman is tempting, but I really, really am high on Mike Williams, so I'm going to nab him here. Nice to see that Mike Williams is ranked a little bit higher here. Ezekiel Elliott was very, very tempting. I am not going to lie. It was more so a gamble for me to see if Travis Etienne would be available to us in the 5th round. If that's the case, he's going to be my slam dunk of a pick, and I'm going to feel pretty good about that. I think, we'll see how this plays out. Not too many auto picks, so that's nice to see. I would say, this is still a pretty accurate draft. Again, Zeke in the in the 4th round, folks. I realize it's a 10-team league, so some of these players are pushed down a little bit, but that's still tremendous, tremendous value. Then Josh Jacobs, J.K. Dobbins, Josh Allen, first quarterback off the board in the 4th round. If I remember correctly, ESPN does have their quarterbacks ranked a little bit lower than the other platforms. Let me double check that. So yeah, Patrick Mahomes 49th overall. I mean, Kyler Murray 87th overall. That's a joke. He should be much, much higher. There goes Chris Godwin, then Michael Pittman. Good value on Michael Pittman towards the end of the 4th round. And the way this thing is kind of playing out, I think we might get lucky, honestly, with some of our wide receivers, potentially some of these running backs. At running back, I highlighted Travis Etienne. I still don't think that James Robinson is going to be all that much of a factor this season. If he somehow has a miraculous recovery, then yes, I will be knocking Travis Etienne down my rankings. But as long as he's the guy, then I think Travis Etienne, a potential great breakout candidate, is what I'm trying to say. So other than that, at this point in time, as we stand, James Robinson hasn't made that miraculous recovery. So I have zero problem taking Etienne where I would here in the end of the 5th round. Darren Waller just went. A.J. Brown also went before him. Personally, I'm not a fan of A.J. Brown this year. In Philly, I don't think that Jalen Hurts is a pass-heavy quarterback. I don't think A.J. Brown is a PPR type of wide receiver. So just no thank you to A.J. Brown, personally. Then we have Terry McLaurin with the first pick in the 5th round. I would say he is pretty tempting now with a guy like, Carson Wentz. Say what you will about him, but he's the best quarterback Terry McLaurin has had. I mean, he made Michael Pittman a legitimate wide receiver last year in Indy. I think he can do the same with Terry McLaurin. There goes Breece Hall. Again, there's no way Breece Hall should be going ahead of Travis Etienne here, folks. But it is what it is. Let people fall into that trap all they want. I'm not buying into a Jets offense, period. So that's just me. But hopefully this thing can speed up a little bit because, there's still some really, really good players here. And I want to see how this thing plays out. We see Deontay Johnson, another guy that had a huge 2021, but, I think he is in for kind of a decline this season. I just don't think he's going to get as many targets. And I think that that's going to hurt his value tremendously in PPR formats. There goes Travis Etienne. Unfortunately, he didn't quite make it to us. So that gamble didn't necessarily pay off. Probably should have taken him in the 4th round. But I was just curious to see how this thing would pan out, But this is why we do these mocks. This is one of our first mocks that we've done in ESPN. So kind of just to get a feel for it and, see what players go at what point in time. But I can't be too upset about our team right now. We've got Dalvin Cook, we've got DeAndre Swift, Mike Williams, Mark Andrews. So, we've got that wide receiver one at the tight end position. We've got a guy in Mike Williams that I think is very, very underrated. Antonio Gibson is still there, but in my opinion, I just don't want anything to do with that backfield. So I'm probably good at the running back position for now. I'm going to hit wide receiver. Maybe I'll even get a little frisky and add a quarterback here. Somebody like a Patrick Mahomes, if he's still available. Let me double check to see that he is. And yes, he in fact is. So we could go that way. We could go with a potentially, a guy. Actually, let me just land a wide receiver that I really like here in somebody like a Allen Robinson, he's ranked 78th overall. Are you kidding me? That is not right. So I can wait on him. And instead, let me see if I can make it. Let's go Patrick Mahomes. So we get our number 2 quarterback. I feel good about that. So we got Mahomes, we got Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Swift, Mike Williams. So let's go and land a wide receiver now. And a guy that I really like is, as I mentioned before, Allen Robinson, who's ranked way, way too low. So I'm just going to smash the draft button on that. Man, if we had gotten Travis Kelce and paired him with Patrick Mahomes, that would have been a hell of a stack. That's why I was kind of, contemplating on quarterback. Usually, I'm perfectly fine on waiting on a guy like a Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson, just because I don't think there's that huge of a drop off at the position between like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, all those tier 1 guys. But kind of just switching it up a little bit here. And again, it's a 10-team league, so get that positional advantage potentially. And that's what we're doing with Patrick Mahomes. Joe Burrow going ahead of Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray. That's crazy. That should not be happening. Now, here at this point, we can just go best player available, running backs, wide receivers, whatever the case might be. And again, I wanted to highlight Allen Robinson. He was ranked way, way too low. Rashad Bateman as well. Rashad Bateman ranked 83rd overall. That's absolutely crazy. That shouldn't be the case. He should be ranked much higher now that Marquise Brown is gone. Let's see if there's any other, rankings that we have to call out here. I think Russell Gage should be higher. Where's Alan Lazard, folks? Alan Lazard, 150. Alan Lazard is ranked below fellow Green Bay wide receiver who's a rookie, Christian Watson. That's absolutely mind-boggling here. So I really don't agree with these wide receiver rankings that ESPN has. But hey, you do you, ESPN. For now, I think there's been some really, really good value picks. Like we got Patrick Mahomes at the end of the 5th round. For example, DJ Moore being available until the end of the 5th round. Allen Robinson, he was ranked much, much lower. So, it's tough to call him a value pick if the platform doesn't have him ranked that high. Travis Etienne in the middle of the 5th round, good value. Kyle Pitts in the middle of the 5th round, good value. So there's been some good picks. Nothing too crazy. Oh, wow, I didn't even realize George Kittle was still available, folks. Wow. So George Kittle just went towards the end of the 6th round. Talk about good value. He is absolutely the poster boy of that here throughout this 6th round. I love that pick. Even with Trey Lance potentially being the starter for the majority of the season, to me, George Kittle is a great pick. I think he's still almost good for 1,000 yards regardless. And now kind of looking at the situation play out, we see Jerry Jeudy, we see Miles Sanders, kind of looking at these other options for us. We do need to add some wide receiver depth. So hopefully I'm crossing my fingers that Rashad Bateman will be there. Michael Thomas just went. He was somebody that's, pretty intriguing. I would say if he comes back 100%, to me, he's somebody that has super nice upside in a decent floor in PPR formats. But let's look at all these players that are ranked above Rashad Bateman. Like Treylon Burks, he's a rookie with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. Shouldn't be ranked above him. Drake London, rookie with Marcus Mariota, shouldn't be ranked above him. Tyler Lockett without Russell Wilson shouldn't be ranked above him. Hunter Renfrow with Devontae Adams in town shouldn't be ranked above him. Like, this is absolutely crazy. These rankings are, just completely nuts with the wide receiver position. Right now, if, Rashad Bateman is off the board, guys that I would be considering, probably Cortland Sutton, with Russell Wilson in town, he definitely gets a bump, so I don't mind that. Maybe, let's see if there's anybody left over at running back here, potentially, that we might have forgotten about. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's there, a guy that probably not a lot of people are going to be touching, and, it makes sense. Aaron Rodgers just went. I think Aaron Rodgers just went ahead of Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray. That needs to be called out. Without Devontae Adams, no way Aaron Rodgers is going to return the type of value you're used to. Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray should have been drafted 100 times, like by now, to the fact where I'm tempted to just draft one of them, even though I have Patrick Mahomes. But obviously, that's not a good strategy to follow. So, if you told me that this would have been the case a round ago, I would have just taken 2 wide receivers like Allen Robinson and somebody else. And then right now I'd be taking Kyler Murray, which would be absolutely insane. But you can't predict these things 100%. So I'm going Rashad Bateman here. I've been talking him up for a while, and now we get to land our guy. Now transitioning back to this thing, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I guess that's kind of tempting. We do need to add some running back depth, but I'm not that big of a believer. Honestly, as crazy as it might sound, Kyler Murray is by far and away the best option right now, but I don't want to do that. Damian Harris is there. At wide receiver, who else do we really like? Nobody is really jumping out at me, honestly. Gabriel Davis in Buffalo is somebody that's kind of tempting. I guess we can go there and then, just add some depth that way. But honestly, again, it sounds crazy and it goes against everything, but I should have gone Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes and Kyler Murray. But since it's a mock draft, I don't want to, I'd only be doing that really if I do it for trade bait. And in these situations, you don't really get much out of that. I can just mention the fact that he's a great value. He shouldn't be on the board, but I already have Patrick Mahomes. I shouldn't be drafting Kyler Murray. There's no reason why he should still be available. And you can sometimes get in trouble drafting players just because you want to use them as trade bait. If your league mates realize that, then you're not necessarily going to get the value back in that trade. So that's something to consider as well. But right now, honestly, I'm probably going to make 1-2 more picks and then wrap this thing up because we've got the core of our roster already, taken care of. I wouldn't be shocked with the way this thing is going if we start to see some kickers and defenses go off the board, which I would hate to see and extend this to that extent. But so far, just kind of rating our roster like Patrick Mahomes, Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Swift. I love that trio. At wide receiver, I tried to get those mid-tier guys that I think have wide receiver one type of value. So that includes Mike Williams, Allen Robinson, Rashad Bateman. I would have loved it if Marquise Brown was still there. That's obviously not the case, but I can't be too mad at the guys that we have. Alan Lazard is going to be somebody that I'm looking at. And okay, again, how is Kyler Murray still available? That I guess maybe it's a 10-team league, so a lot of these squads have already gotten a quarterback, so the algorithm is telling them not to draft another one. I just don't know why guys like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers and Joe Burrow were drafted ahead of Kyler Murray, even Jalen Hurts, who I'm not a believer in, but okay, come on, that's pretty crazy. TJ Hawkinson, Elijah Moore. So I do like TJ Hawkinson. Great value in the 9th round. Are you serious? Wow. Elijah Moore then goes. So right now, I think just out of stubbornness, I might go Kyler Murray. He shouldn't be on the board, folks. I can't say that enough. At wide receiver, who else do we like here? I mentioned him before, Alan Lazard. I think he should be ranked much, much higher. So if he's still available, I'm going to snag him. At running back, let's see if there's any, potential steals here. A.J. Dillon, if something happens to Aaron Jones, he is a league winner. So I might take a flyer on him. Tony Pollard, same situation. I think he doesn't have as much standalone value as A.J. Dillon, in my opinion. So right now, I'll probably take Alan Lazard, then A.J. Dillon. Guys Melvin Gordon also, I think he has tremendous standalone value. There goes Russell Wilson, Drake London. Jesus Christ. Kyler Murray is still on the board. I can't say how disappointed I am in that. But again, it is what it is. I went Alan Lazard here. Let's see if Kyler Murray is fine. Oh my God, thank you. Kyler Murray was finally selected. I'm pretty sure that team has Justin Herbert and Kyler Murray. So here we can just go with A.J. Dillon, kind of wrap this thing up. Overall, I really like the team. We don't necessarily have a quote unquote stud wide receiver, but we got Mark Andrews at the tight end position of wide receiver one to get that positional advantage as a 10-team league. And then I think Williams, Allen Robinson, Allen Lazard, Rashad Bateman, all super, super underrated. I wanted to see, the whole thing of taking a quarterback early. Obviously, I shouldn't have done that considering Kyler Murray just went in the 10th round. But again, that'll never happen. So that's a very big outlier. But Patrick Mahomes right now seems like a reach when where we got him. So I could have gotten some more depth at wide receiver or running back. But hey, overall, for one of our first drafts here on ESPN, I'm happy with how this thing played out. I'd probably give us a B minus to a B, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section along with any other questions you guys might have. We will do our best to answer them all as always. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in future videos.